Hi, I'm Jennifer. This is Unearthed Relics, and I'm going to show off my recent thrifting finds. I had the chance to stop by a few Goodwill outlets as well as a few Goodwills over the course of the weekend and had a fun time kind of picking through things and did manage to find a few things that were of interest. So let me go ahead and quickly show those off. I get some wooden hangers. I'd recently seen a video talking about how you can actually resell wooden hangers online. I've actually gotten several of these over the years because they're really sturdy and they're great for hanging things from in closets. So I have some already and I found a few more and they were in pretty good condition, so I went ahead and got them. I feel like this falls in that category of I'm not quite sure if it's, economical to get them, from a Goodwill outlet, especially because you're paying by the pound and they're heavier. But all things considered, I think if it's something that's in demand, and I think more people are trying to be a little bit more conscientious about how they're designing and displaying things in their closets, and wooden hangers are not inexpensive. So there you have it. I got this really cool tea canister. My husband is kind enough to make tea for me in the morning. So I figured this would be a nice way to kind of put little tea bags down into, so it makes it really easy and convenient. And I am super appreciative of his efforts to help caffeinate me every day. So little tea canister, that was only $3, so it was a good deal. This was one of the things I got from an outlet. Obviously, I don't really necessarily like it has a very modern sort of look. It looks like it was a Hobby Lobby purchase, originally $27.99. It's almost $30 for this. Never used, clearly. But the other thing that I found around the same time, so it says blessed beyond measure, which I thought that part was kind of cute. And at that same outlet, I found a bunch of the folding style rulers, which are really cool. I've seen people make stars out of these, and I thought that would be good for that. And they're definitely vintage, they're older. But I also figured that would make a lot of good material to potentially replace the cheap kind of wood here with measures. So I thought that would be kind of a cool project. And there's a couple, they're different colors, different styles. I mean, they're all the same style, but then slightly different looks to them. So in addition to real rulers, which I have an abundance of as well, I thought that might be a fun craft project for a little bit later. Here's another little silly thing I got. I had just been talking with my husband about the idea of printing one of those dice roller things on our 3D printer, and to show you, you never know what you're gonna find. I literally found the same thing, and I don't know, this would have taken I would say a decently long amount of time to print, and there was a lot of potential room for error with all those open spaces in there. And so the fact that I just found that, I mean, I don't know if somebody had printed it themselves and then decided not to use it, or had purchased it online from someone who had 3D printed it. In any case, I had imagined this thing and I was trying to put that in the queue of things that we might try printing on our printer, and lo and behold, I found it. So because it is so light also, I would say it was practically free. Definitely cheaper than the cost of the electricity and plastic filament or whatever you call that it would have taken to print it ourselves. So that was a good find. I found some old bridge things. This one was really cool. It's like a little spinner. So showing you kind of what to bid for different kind of conditions, I guess. I don't know, kind of interesting idea. I like the spinners because I can sometimes work those into collages. This little doll cap here, prairie style bonnet. I don't know what kind of doll that's from. Actually, I might be able to tell. Oh, it was American Girl. I was thinking it looked kind of American Girl. And lo and behold, it was. So this was probably, I'm guessing, Kristen, the girl who was from that kind of era. In any case, didn't find the doll, found the hat. Could be able to use that in different assemblages or something like that. I also got a little Santa hat because I think I might be able to use that. obviously toward Christmas time, I found some cool ruffles, just kind of like as an embellishment or something, like ribbon style. I always get the little color and white kind of intertwined string when I find that, because that's great for wrapping up packages. Get a little passport ornament there. I got a bunch of US flag garlands. I didn't get a chance to hang these up yet. Obviously, I thought they would be perfect decor for Memorial Day. They're going to be great as well for the 4th of July coming up. But yeah, they're just flags sewn onto a garland. Again, they're super light. They look like they've never really been used before either. So yeah, that was a great find. And because they were super light, practically free for sure. Couple more like little lacy notion types of things. A little set of recipe index cards. A whole little packet of envelopes. I actually got that at a regular Goodwill. It's a little bit heavier, probably the kind of thing I would have passed on or maybe not gotten all of them if I'd found at the Goodwill outlet, but because it was only 99 cents at the regular Goodwill, I could not pass it up. And some bats, which I'm going to put right into my Halloween bin, and we'll get those back out a little bit later. I also managed to find some clothing. So I found a couple things at the outlet. This was a J. Jill kind of jumper. I thought that was really cute, as well as this cute Nike t-shirt. So we went to one Goodwill and completely struck out, but the other one that we went to had an abundance of awesome things, including a lot of shirts and dresses and pants and things that were new with tags on them. And yeah, I mean, I think it was a good reminder that sometimes the most obvious ones that everybody goes to are the ones to kind of pass over in lieu of ones that are maybe a little bit more off the beaten path, or maybe not the spots that people would think would have all the fancy brand new designer kinds of stuff. So this was a pretty shirt. This one was new with tags, but I think the tag got cut off when I was checking out as well. So again, a nice Chico shirt there. This one was kind of pretty. I thought that would be perfect for the event that I'm going to this summer. So I'm looking forward to getting that washed up and being able to wear that. Just another cute little fun top. And some shirts to work out in. Cute pair of pants that I think will go great with some of those other tops that I just saw. These were also Talbots, so in pretty good shape. I don't think those were brand new, but not terribly used. Obviously, white pants can go bad real fast, so that was a find. And then this little cute, it's actually like a shirt dress, and it's got this really fun kind of tropical vacation-y sort of pattern on it, so I think that'll be perfect. And then another thing that I found at the outlet was, I don't know if this is a sheet or a tablecloth or a curtain or whatever, but it's a beautiful big piece of fabric that I will probably end up using as a tablecloth. So we'll get all of those things washed up, and yeah, I think I did pretty good on this clothing haul. All right, let's do a little bit of crafting. So I found this baggie of beads at one Goodwill, and then little bits and bobs of beads that I picked out of a bin from another Goodwill. I made these bracelets yesterday that were just kind of fun. One was kind of race themed for the Indy 500. It had a little race car bead and a little checkered flag bead, so I thought it was perfect. And then also the little bead with the American flag. And I found the words Indy for Indy 500. I loved it. And then I made another little one here with the little lion in blue and white. And now I'm making some more of the blue and white little bead bracelets with these little lion charms that I already had. I'd ordered those in bulk a little while ago. But they end up working really well. I had used them as little dangles before, but there's actually kind of a little part at the end here that worked well for hook, and also it looks like another part up at the top. So they're very versatile little charm. I guess that's what you would call that in any case. And I've just found that some of the beads in here had bigger holes in the middle than others, so I'm trying to work with the ones that are a little bit larger. I've been using pieces of wire, so like the floral wire of different sizes to try to kind of make like a little needle with those by folding it and then putting the plastic yarn in between that, and then you can kind of thread those through. But even the skinnier gauged wire wasn't working in some of them. So I've actually found that if I just kind of thread it on through, it works pretty well as long as I'm picking ones that have a good size hole through the middle of them. And I'll show what I'm talking about here in just a second when we get it added to the little lion bead. And I'm hoping that all of these are big enough that they won't be a problem. But because of the elasticity of the yarn, get that, it actually works pretty well because it kind of, like if you get it kind of stuck to the other piece, it'll pull it back through. So we'll show you that in just a second here. This might be a technique that others are already very familiar with, but I was kind of excited about it. So I'm going to thread this one onto this side. So this will become this side of the bracelet. And then I'm just going to pull it a little bit tight here, kind of thread in the edge. Yep, there it goes. And pull it on through. Now I need to get a little bit more string on there. So same thing, I'm going to kind of pull it tight, poke it back through. Everything I know about bead making I've learned from watching YouTube videos. So I've been doing this for a little while, and I found most of my beads thrifting. Not surprisingly, I have bought some, like when I need them for special projects that I've done, I will buy them. It is crazy how expensive they can be, especially like if you get the glass or crystal beads. And then obviously the ones that aren't glass or crystal aren't always the greatest quality. And yeah, they can get really expensive really fast, which is why, like, I guess when you see beads and stuff at craft fairs or online for sale, the prices always seem so incredibly high for me for what seems like I would have thought this is like kind of like a kid's craft kind of a thing, but when you get the nicer beads and different things like that, yeah, it can add up. They are not cheap. And so that's why I'm really excited when I find them at the thrift store. In this case, the ones that I found were, yeah, just a baggie, like a whole baggie of them, like just a sandwich size bag for $1. They had different colors. This was the only one that I ended up buying. Funnily enough, you know, when you're at the Goodwill outlet and you pay by the pound, it ended up probably being more than what they had been marked for. It looked like maybe a garage sale or something, because they were heavy. So I didn't want to buy, even though it was still probably a really good deal. I've got a pretty good collection of beads going right now, so I didn't feel like I needed to add to it. Obviously, if my supplies run low, I might think differently and would see that as a valid means of stocking up. And yeah, so I think it's just another example of how the thrifting experience is a great way to facilitate crafting of various sorts. I find beads all the time, so people think it kind of falls into that category of crafts where people get excited about it, or maybe have a specific present or favor or something in mind that they're trying to make some of, or just see it online and think it's a fun little hobby. But I don't know, like I enjoy it. I don't know that I would do this on a regular basis unless I had something specific I wanted to make. When I kind of find things and I like the supplies that I'm working with, I'm going to pull some back through so I'm not wasting as much of that plastic yarn there. So that becomes one end of the bracelet. And I'm gonna cut that off. And I've learned this the hard way too, that you need something to kind of clip it off, but a binder clip works really well. Just kind of getting it in the middle of the binder clip there, and that will keep the beads from rolling off that end while I'm getting the other one strung. So for this one, I'm gonna end with a big one. I've learned this too. I want a big one that the knot can go into, so that'll be my last bead here. And I'm just gonna try to find other ones that are like the good big holes there. And I've been putting just 10 on each side, so that one's nice and easy. I think I was saying something earlier, and I totally lost my train of thought, so sorry about that. Some of these had been used. It looked like they had kind of gotten those strung up to add on to different things. So I've just been using pliers that I had to kind of pull out those pieces. I mean, obviously, if you were going to make different kinds of bracelets, it's kind of an advantage in some cases that some of them would already have the little bits and bobbles so that they could be strung onto a bracelet or a necklace or something. So in this case, I didn't necessarily need those or want those, so I'm just kind of taking them apart when I do come across them. These little guys here. Let's see if that one has. That's a pretty teensy weensy hole, but yeah, I'm gonna pass it on. I'm gonna try that one. The other thing that I had out was a needle, and you can use the needle to kind of thread into it. So you can grab that again. Grab a little tomato there, just to make sure that it's, that one is pretty. See if I can get this through. Yeah. Okay, I think that'll end up being okay. Seven, we're up to 7 here. A little blue one on the end there. I think it's got enough. Yep. Yeah, the little glass beads are really, really nice. But anyway, so I'm going to come in from this end and then loop it back around and come back the other way. So do one more side. I think I remember what I had been talking about. So yeah, that idea of a craft that you just kind of get the idea and then you realize that it takes up a lot of space, and if you don't really see yourself using it, you know, anytime in the near future. I find entire sets of beading stuff all the time, so it's very clear that somebody has given up on that particular hobby, and that's fine. Like that's you know, I think we all kind of get excited about crafts, you know. And I've found that crafty people are often multi-crafty people, so you don't just have one craft passion, at least in most cases. Some people are disciplined enough to do that. Others, like myself, not so much. I've got a million different kinds of craft projects, and you know, you get into it and then you realize, oh, I need the this and the that kind of supply and this thing and that thing, and you know, I think that that's a big part of what the crafting industry is kind of based on, is the fact that, you know, people are going whole hog in for these different, I don't know if this guy's gonna work. Let's see if I can find a bigger one that's kind of color still. Anyway, they're going all in for all the supplies and everything. And maybe that's part of the, you know, I know that there's a lot of other things kind of going into the downfall of the craft stores, the brick and mortar craft stores like Joann's. But I think, you know, in addition to some of the things happening maybe at a business level that is making it harder for those businesses to be profitable, I also feel like people kind of going for that more minimalistic living could be contributing to it as well. Because like if you're into a million crafts and it takes up space for a million crafts among your other possessions, yeah, you've got to have space for it, and it can, you know, look messy, even when you're doing your best to kind of keep it neat and tidy and everything. So maybe that's another thing. Maybe people are just doing fewer of the possession-oriented crafts that require lots and lots of supplies and stuff, or maybe maybe they're borrowing supplies from people when they need them, which is, I think, a great idea too. Another kind of more sustainable thing to do than buying everything you need every single time you start a new craft project. And that's a great way too to figure out if it's something that you're going to like doing or not doing. I helped to make a quilt once, and that was enough for me. So at least for now, I was kind of glad that I hadn't bought all the quilting stuffs, at least at that point in time. But I know my sister has them if I ever need to borrow things. So you know, identifying somebody else who is a friend or acquaintance that you might be able to borrow things from is another good sustainable means of getting into a craft and trying your hand at it. So basically what I'm doing is just kind of going back the other opposite direction here. So far so good. I picked good beads. Feeling good about my life choices right here. It is a little bit painful when you get kind of stuck on one and it is just making your life miserable for a second, but it seems to be working pretty well. There we go. And I have to say, like, you know, I had been kind of a fan of these things when I had first, the little wire thing, when I had first figured it out. It actually helps a lot for certain kinds of beads. And when you're doing like just like a single strand through on the beads, it goes pretty quickly. And so it can be a good means of, you know, getting a bracelet or a necklace strung up pretty quickly. But I also really like this method. Is kind of fun and it's oddly satisfying. So, because it just kind of feels like the other piece of little yarn thing kind of pulls it back through a little bit because of that they're kind of sticking together, and I don't know, it's satisfying. There we go. I think that's going to be long enough. I'm not going to pull that out. Just enough to tie, get my other end here, and I'm just going to tie several knots on either side. So I don't know if this really makes a difference. I try to go, oops. I'll tie it on the top and then I flip one of the strings around and tie it on the bottom. It just makes me feel better. And tie it tight. You don't want to snap it though. And then there we go. It is a little bit harder when there's the two little strings that you got to kind of keep track of, but I like the way these turned out. These little charms were great, and I didn't pay a ton of them. I got those like ages and ages ago. Probably off, I don't know if it was Amazon or Etsy, something like that. In any case, they have lasted a long time and I've gotten a lot of good use out of them. So again, this is why it helps to have that big one here, that once I cut the edges off of these, they'll hide away inside of there. And I've got a cute little bracelet. All right, I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of altered playing card collaging today. I've got some napkins, kind of red, white, and blue, sort of Memorial Day, patriotic, and I'm going to go ahead and get to crafting on those. All right, so I didn't get the picture frame done, but I did make a couple of these stars, and I'm gonna go ahead and show how to do that. I thought that was actually kind of good as a Memorial Day craft as well. So all I'm doing is starting to make the points of the star. And the beauty of these are they bend both ways, so you can kind of keep going around as you make the different parts of the star. And you have a couple different options for how you finish it up. I have found that pretty consistently these rulers have just enough for one extra point. And so you can either finish it there where they kind of connect in and maybe use glue gun if you were making this a permanent thing, or fold it on around and then have that one back behind the one that it duplicates. And I kind of like this one because you have more spots to attach onto, and then you also have a heavier base in one of the spots if you were gonna hang it. So yeah, a fun star craft with inexpensive rulers. So a little while back, I had made the decision to move my craft room out from the bedroom that I had had it in previously to kind of a little area just outside that where I have a really good window that kind of gets a lot of natural light. And I'm loving the fact that this was one of the first days so far this spring that it's been bright and light all at the very same time, and I was able to get the window opened up. That of course has meant that I have been sneezing nonstop all morning as I'm kind of acclimating to that, but it also means that I get to hear these really, really beautiful bird sounds, which of course now that I am talking, they're Nope, there they go. I was gonna say maybe they're on to me here, but I'm gonna just, yeah, I'll tilt the camera around and give you a view and let you take in some of those beautiful, beautiful bird sounds.